Hey there, it's Samantha Davidson again. For the past 3 weeks, it's been really interesting. A common theme that I have found throughout the readings is that as teachers, really, it's important to follow the role of the Savior. There's one line in particular that was mentioned within the imagery that mentioned that as teachers, we really comfort the afflicted and afflict the comforted. And that's really what the Savior was doing when he was teaching, is he was there to help those ease the troubled minded, and also to bring up new ideas to help people grow, because a lot of the times with growth there comes those growing pains, but it's important to help teach people so that they can have that opportunity to grow. I also thought there was a couple of really interesting things from, I think it's Janot. He mentions that as we take care of the emotional needs of the individual, that individual is then able to help out and benefit and take care of the needs of the other people within their family relations. And I thought that was really so true. When we help out and take care of one individual, and they're able to then use that effort that they would have been taking to take care of their needs and put it towards taking care of the needs of others. And that really is beneficial, especially as we are able to help out the parents, I think, within their marital relationships, but also as parents themselves. Another thing that Janelle was talking about was with this first step process. He mentioned that the main goal is to help the parents have a warm environment experience, so that they're able to duplicate that experience in their own homes. In a way, a parenting educator is a parent to the parents, and I thought that was really interesting. It's important that if conflict arises, that it's handled well. If there's some sort of myth that the parents are holding on to, it's important that that's addressed. It's important that each parent feels respected and like they have something to offer, because they do. I also thought it was really interesting that with the reading, it made to point out that we're not a doctor, we're a mentor. It's important that we recognize that parents or the participants of FLE know more about their own lives and their challenges and their resources, and so it's important that any solutions really come from them, because not only do they know more about the whole of the situation, but they also, when you come up with your own idea or something that you want to change, then you have the motivation and the conviction that it's what it's needed to do. And as family life educators, we can help them discover that process. But if we come up with a solution, then it's probably not going to happen as easily. Another theme that he mentioned was how it's important to offer warm compassion to the parents. And I thought it was really interesting. He says, no parent wakes up in the morning planning to make his child's life miserable. No mother or father says, today I'll yell, nag, and humiliate my child whenever possible. On the contrary, in the morning, many parents' resolve is, this is going to be a peaceful day. No yelling, no arguing, no fighting. Yet, in spite of good intentions, the unwanted war breaks out again. Once more, we find ourselves saying those things we do not mean in a tone we do not like. And I thought that was so interesting, and it's important to keep in mind is that a lot of the times our hearts are in the right place. And that's where each and every one of these parents are that come in and learn from us, or each one of these spouses are, or each one of these children are that we're trying to teach. They come in and their heart's in the right place, but a lot of the times our hands are clumsy. And so as we understand that, we're able to look for the good and then be able to help train the hands. And as we appreciate the good and as we express appreciation for that inner self, I guess those good intentions that a person has, then we're able to help support them in making those good choices and teach them how to better or more constructively show those intentions. So that was interesting when I was talking about how to address issues that you don't agree with that are brought up. That was one thing that I was a little bit concerned with, especially, I mean, I'm not doing a parenting class for this round of the FLE, but especially with parenting classes when it comes to things like spanking children or other such practices that I personally don't agree with. I think it was really interesting that it says, like, they had that as an example, and it said, for an example, if a parent in class suggests that what kids these days need is a good whopping, there are many things a master educator might say, like, I agree that children need to know their limits. What do you think the best way to get the children to respect those limits? Or letting children know that you are serious about limits is important. In my experience, children are more likely to follow the rules when they understand them and believe that they are help children with this. And so it was really interesting to see how as a leader and as a mentor, we can really reframe that. And so we can focus on what the true intention is to help children and to kind of guide them to find a better answer. And then I also thought it was really interesting when it was talking about a third space and how it was important to set aside our own agenda and to really reach out to understand the experience and take that experience and that education and mesh it into a new and better environment, and so that everyone can leave benefited from that experience. It's not our job. This is another quote that I took from the reading that I thought was really important. It says, "It is not our job to show up, listen, slap the people on the wrist for apparent misconduct, and send them home with an explanation of how they should act. Rather, it is the effectiveness in FLE has to do with the match of our education and experience to that of our participants, and it has to do with our willingness and ability to be genuinely compassionate. While each of the participants in that class have a different story to tell, each of their stories was about hopes, struggles, and disappointments. Those are stories that should draw compassion out of all of us." So I thought that was just really interesting, that it was talking about how everybody who comes to these classes has some sort of struggle or trial that they're trying to overcome. And then as we understand that they have hopes and dreams and sad times that they're bringing to the table, we can address each one of those and hopefully increase their hope and their dreams and help them achieve those while helping the healing process with those sad times and those disappointments that come. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention was that I thought it was really interesting that it's important that we understand as family life educators, we can choose whether we see a diversity as a problem to be solved or an opportunity to be realized. And that was another quote, whether it's a problem to be solved or an opportunity to be realized. I just thought that was really profound. A lot of the times different is bad. It really isn't, but that's how it's taken, is that different is bad, it should be avoided, and that uniformity is good. But really that would be boring, and we wouldn't be able to understand a lot of the science that we have today if we all just took one perspective. And so as we understand that difference can be good, and as we keep that perspective, I think that'll really benefit us as we go through these experiences as family life educators. So that's kind of what has been rolling around in my brain for the past couple of weeks. I hope you all enjoy. See ya.